morning, everyone. My name is Dave Britton. I'm the Director of Amazon Business in the UK and Ireland. I'm joined today by Tom Fuchs from the American International School in Vienna and Kyush Modasia from Academies Enterprise Trust here in the UK. We're here to talk about how to monitor and report on purchases in order to drive insight and value for your organisation. Coming to you, Kyush, tell us what's going on at AET.
Thanks, Dave. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kyush Modasia. I'm here to talk a little bit about my experience of creating efficiencies in the finance function and the benefits that can bring to the buying process. I currently work as the Deputy Director of Finance, reporting in directly to the CFO for a multi-academy trust called Academies Enterprise Trust, or AET for short. So just a bit of background for those who aren't familiar with what a multi-academy trust is. Simply put, it's an organisation which manages multiple academies. In 2000, the government had announced an initiative which introduced academies. These are independent state-funded schools which receive their funding directly from central government rather than through a local authority. Whilst they initially were launched with the aim of boosting struggling schools in deprived inner city areas, it has changed radically to embrace all types of schools, successful or otherwise, and since 2010 we've seen an exponential rise in the number of academies. AET currently encompasses 58 schools across the UK, and with a turnover of around 230 million, we have the opportunity to really focus in on efficiencies in finance and procurement and make the most of the income for each and every one of the 31,500 children we're responsible for. So prior to me joining in 2018, AET was an organisation which historically delivered poor academic and financial performance. This was the biggest selling point for me. The prospect of helping to turn around an organisation was just too enticing to ignore. In terms of education, our primary results sit well above national average, and with a 21% rise over the last 3 years and Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5 results closing the gap with the national average. What's been particularly gratifying is seeing that transformation up close. AET has not only reversed the multi-million-pound deficit, but is now running a modest surplus. So I'll run through 3 of the most significant steps we took to achieve this, and then share more about our future strategy. So the first step is people. I was fortunate to be given a blank canvas and created a central finance structure which was at the time made up of contractors. This process took around 9 months as I was determined to get the right people to fill these roles, and whilst I didn't always get it right, I now have a strong team supporting our development. The next step is operating model. We had an operational model that was equivalent to 58 different entities all working in silo with their own systems and processes and a head office which essentially consolidated data. The trust was already committed to a national restructure, moving to a cluster-based model of the finance function. This involved restructuring school-based finance staff to a centralised model of delivery via 11 hubs across the country managing groups of academies. And finally, we have process. There was a drastic need to improve financial systems and processes as they were not only archaic but acted as a barrier to any kind of centralisation we had planned. An enormous amount of work was needed to get the basics in place if the operating model was to work, and so much of this has involved implementing the following key aspects. Automation. Our aim was to go paperless and make the whole ordering process far more efficient. Budgetary control is one of the most important aspects of finance in this sector, and so an electronic automated PO system with real-time budget holder reports was an absolute necessity. We were used to handwritten purchase orders, being passed for authorization and then handed to finance, who'd input the information into a PO before checking the budget and sending this to suppliers via email. We had to engage heavily with the developers to have a workflow which supports the centralized approach and cluster model in place, removing the need for paper or handwritten signatures. The next aspect was centralization, made up of 4 initiatives. A single accounting database for all of our academies to bring 58 academies together in one place. Consistent and mandated financial procedures and processes so that finance operated as one function. A centralized nominal ledger and cost center based on the academy phase, so this would differ for primaries and secondaries, and this was key to improving our financial reporting. And finally, a centrally managed purchase ledger. Up until this point, each academy essentially had their own purchase ledger. We've been working on streamlining our purchase ledger, and this involves speaking to thousands of suppliers to reduce the number of invoices and create single AET accounts as opposed to academy level supplier accounts. Just to put things in perspective, we had over 22,000 suppliers when I joined AET, which hugely restricted any buying power we would have. This drive coincides with the push for centralised or regional contracts for various expenditure to do with our estates, with a goal to reduce our suppliers by almost 75%. Currently, only 50-odd finance staff have access to the Amazon business site and our exclusive pricing deals, so this often causes issues when teachers placing orders cannot see the products and pricing available on the business site as they are using the consumer Amazon website. One of the initiatives we've been working on with Amazon Business to resolve this is to roll out a single sign-on facility for all 5,000 of our staff. And the next step is to integrate this feature in terms of a punch-out on the PO system. Last but not least, staff training. This involved termly training for all staff and creating an online bank of webinars and how-to guides. The last point is always vitally important and brings us back to investing in our people. Far too often, we critique the work of our colleagues without appreciating that they may not have ever had any training. We all know that training is essential for the finance function to be successful, and that was non-existent in the past. So what have we gained from all of this? The change in operating model has yielded annual savings of over 1 million and reduced our staffing by just under 40% to a team of 70 staff now. These savings have been reinvested centrally through our education team to deliver a wide range of IT and education resources to bridge the learning gap for our pupils. We have 30% of our students who are disadvantaged, and for them, access to learning is more important than ever at this time. The recent pandemic has led us to fast-track our IT strategy, and the savings allowed us to purchase over 12,000 Chromebooks and 3,000 Wi-Fi dongles to enable our most vulnerable children to access remote learning during COVID, lockdown and beyond. We were able to react quickly, and the changes we've made in processes enabled us to order the dongles from Amazon, and the Prime subscription meant they were delivered swiftly to our multiple sites. These children were our priority throughout, not only the first to access the IT equipment and Wi-Fi, but also the most important to have access to their teachers online through live lessons and video conferencing. In any week, over 5,000 pupils would log into Trust-wide live lessons as part of their daily timetable, not to forget them all being able to join in with Joe Wicks and keep fit and healthy too. We've also been able to invest heavily in one-to-one tutoring over the summer and various EdTech software programs, which has really helped to shape our virtual learning environment and provide continuous access to learning and their teachers for all of our pupils. In July, we ran our first ever virtual celebration festival, which attracted over 35,000 staff, students and parent viewers throughout the day, and with a few celebrities dropping in, from David Walliams to Spice Girl and even a personal message from Boris Johnson. It was truly a remarkable event for staff and most importantly pupils, many of whom would not have been able to enjoy the event were it not for the recent investment in technology. So I've talked about some of the changes we've made and are making, which does make you feel like the education sector and wider not-for-profit sector is often behind the curve when we compare with our corporate counterparts. Therefore, towards the end of last year, we finalised the 5-year strategy, which focused on automation and thus efficiency. The pandemic has definitely accelerated the timeframe in which we would want to deliver on the strategy, and I will now provide you an insight into the vision we have for the sector. Firstly, creating a single processing centre to support the changes that have been made and centralise the way in which we handle ordering and payments, effectively reducing the number of batch payments that are made. Secondly, implement a number of preferred suppliers which can accommodate 80% of our ordering, who all have integrated punch-outs with our P2P system. Thirdly, an integration and implementation of artificial intelligence into our ordering and invoice process. This means invoices from suppliers are sent via email to a dedicated inbox and automatically posted to the finance system through OCR reading. And the AI aspect learns what information to pick up, where it's normally posted to, relevant cost centres, payment dates, etc. Then we have banking. We would like to move from 60 plus bank accounts to just one physical bank account and 11 virtual accounts for our clusters of academies. And finally, we'd like to see automated bank GL postings. So using AI, there would be a seamless integration between the finance system and transactions so that these are automatically posted to the general ledger. Whilst we operate on the cloud for almost all things finance, the next step involves a greater degree of automation using AI and thus drive efficiency. Furthermore, we believe the finance function can be delivered from anywhere, remotely, as long as the systems support this way of working, and consequently, we can move away from the need for staff to be based in locations near regional offices. It's been exciting and rewarding to see how far we have come, given where we were, but I don't think we've done anything revolutionary so far, as much as what we have done and are doing can be found in the corporate sector. However, I relish the opportunity now to look forwards and be innovative, so we can support others also seeking to make such changes. Managing the significant amount of change that we've been through requires a great deal of teamwork, dedication and time, and the changing culture is one that has been welcomed as staff see the tangible benefits. Thank you. I hope that insight into what we have done and aim to do resonates with some of your strategies and visions for the future.
Thanks, Kyush. That's a huge journey you've been on. Really appreciate you sharing it. So Tom, tell us what you've been up to in Vienna.
Thank you, Dave. Again, my name is Tom Fuchs. I'm the purchasing officer for 7 years now with the American International School in Vienna, Austria. We are a private school with 814 students, pre-K to 12. Purchasing is what I have done for my entire life for more than 30 years. I have been in over 10 different countries, from Uzbekistan to Denmark, from Hungary, all over Latin America to the United States. Now I'm at the American International School, and we have used Amazon ever since we created our first account in 2013. But now, since there is Business Prime, Amazon really got interesting for us. It's very simple for our teachers to use to select their products they're needing for their curriculum. We're buying a wide variety of items, from textbooks to world maps, from maintenance supplies to academic supplies. There is not much we wouldn't be able to find at Amazon. Now, where Amazon really got interesting for us is when Amazon Business got implemented. We have had countless emails and phone calls with Amazon in regards to the enormous amount of invoices we had to handle. Until a few months ago, when the opportunity was offered to us to have a monthly invoicing with having a prepared Excel spreadsheet with every purchase we placed in combination with all invoices in the same sequence. Before that, we had about 4 to 5 days to reconcile all our purchases with our credit card statements. Now, believe it or not, with this new improvement and this benefit for us with the new way of invoicing, were able to cut that down to less than 1 day. This is a lot of time freed up for purchasing to do other tasks. As you can imagine, as a school from pre-K to 12, there's 13 grade levels. There's over 120 teachers and administrators placing orders. Besides the invoicing, which we have going in a very good process now, we also set up 2 of our libraries as a sub-purchaser under the purchasing department. The librarian can themselves place the orders into their basket, send it to me for approval, and that's it. The orders will come in, it will be coded, it will have the cost centers on it, the name of the purchasing person. This is a really very important step for us to have this kind of service, to make it much more easier for purchasing, for receiving, and for our custodians to deliver the packages to all the different classrooms. Our future vision will be to step by step try to add more and more divisions to purchase and place their orders themselves with the same process as we do it for the library, high school English, the science department, pre-K, kindergarten, and so on. That would be a tremendous saving on time and also cost for us.
Thank you, Tom. Really great story. I'd like to jump in with a few questions here. First of all, I'd like to just understand from both of you, what were some of the surprises you had when you first worked with Amazon Business? Hopefully good ones. And how did you use those to benefit your organization? Tom, let's come to you first.
Well, one of the biggest benefits we saw was that we were able now to get proper invoices And with the possibility to add purchase order numbers, cost centers onto that, it made life in our accounts department so much more easier. That was a huge step forward for us.
Great, perfect example of just how these small changes can make a massive difference. And Kyush, what about you?
So I mentioned earlier the fact that we have the opportunity to build a punch out from our P2P system. So I think this was surprising as Amazon actually introduced this to us, or this concept of having a punch out. And more recently, they've brought to us the product basket analysis. And that's been really interesting, where they can review thousands of our products that we're buying and compare prices with Amazon Business, and then hopefully give us some significant savings on the items that we're currently buying across the trust.
Great to hear. And how about if you were to give your top tip for somebody who is an education organization just setting up on Amazon Business for the first time? What would that be? Let's start with you, Kyush.
I'd say to be bold and don't be afraid to inform Amazon if there's any significant changes that you're trying to make, because from our experience, Amazon have been really versatile, and the Amazon Business website itself is super dynamic. So there's lots of changes they can bring in and tailor-made to your own circumstances. So I think definitely don't be afraid to tell Amazon about changes that you think they should make, as they're quite open to constantly improving the website and improving, I guess, the user experience.
Please do. We're always welcome to feedback. Tom, what about your thoughts?
What we have found is that Amazon is close to the one-stop shop. That gives us so much freedom for the teachers. Whatever they use, whatever ideas they might have, to have a tool on hand where they can browse, search, and get some ideas and find the right pricing, and moreover, a very fast delivery time.
Great. And if we were to move just for this last question to thinking ahead, what do you see as the biggest challenges or the biggest opportunities ahead for purchasing finance in the education sector in, say, the coming year? Tom, over to you again.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, what I think what the perfect future would be to be able to set up most, if not all departments with their own account on Amazon Business, to streamline the entire process, the looking for opportunities, the looking for good price products. That I believe would be a very big step forward in the future vision for us.
Perfect, great. And Kyush, what do you say?
So I definitely think the move to digital will be happening a lot faster than we envisaged. I mentioned artificial intelligence. I see this coming into play far quicker than we had imagined. And I also think actually in terms of staffing, I think that can impact finance staffing in general as we drive more and more efficiencies. But at the same time, if we think about what Amazon Business can bring to the table, we've got lots of businesses currently that are struggling since the pandemic. And unfortunately, this has meant that there's additional pressure on educational institutions as well when placing orders to be extra diligent and ensure that the companies that we are dealing with are able to handle orders and deliver on them. I guess the benefit of someone like Amazon Business is that they're backed by Amazon, and it's a huge global company. So you've got that peace of mind when you place an order, that there won't be any issues in terms of payments and the ability to deliver on a service.
Great. Couldn't have put it better myself. So that just leaves me to say thank you to you, Tom, and to you, Kyush, for sharing your stories. I think we'll all agree they were fantastic examples to share, and hope that people take some good ideas away from them. Thanks again.